This special is a presentation of Sinclair Cares. Every child deserves a chance in life, but right now, millions of children are behind. The number here really astonishing. 25 million children in the U.S. cannot read proficiently, which is why we launched a Sinclair Cares partnership with Reading is Fundamental. I'm Angela Brown with the National Desk, and welcome to the Sinclair Cares Supporting Children's Literacy Special. We are on a critical mission here to help get more books into the hands of children to improve their reading skills. Reading is Fundamental is the nation's leading children's literacy nonprofit. It has proven programs and resources to tackle the literacy crisis, and we're teaming up with the nonprofit on a virtual book drive. Throughout this special, you're going to see a QR code on your screen. Just scan it to make a donation. Every dollar counts. In fact, just a $4 donation provides a child with a new book. So let's get started. We begin with Shannon Lilly in Baltimore at Billie Holiday Elementary School.
They say it takes a village.
1, 2, I love you.
And inside Billie Holiday Elementary,
One more story.
it's a holiday gathering of sorts for young readers.
The rabbit is hiding in the grass.
This is a place where dreams can soar.
Move your balloon really good. Ready? Inhale.
And kids can be their own life's author.
Now you can make your own story from beginning to end.
And it's a sense of community.
Hey, Swan.
Driving it all.
Hey, girl.
Dean of Students Brandon Canyon remembers going through his own Books for Ownership program years ago.
My first book was James and the Giant Peach, and that just encouraged me to dream bigger.
Now he's sharing that experience
Give me 5.
with his tiny friend. It's all part of a decades-old program put on by the national nonprofit Reading is Fundamental.
You ready to get your book? Let's go get your book. Come on.
Since 1966.
Creating the joy of reading is what we're all about.
The group pushing for literacy, funded by the Baltimore Community Foundation to continue the tradition here.
And you get any 3 books you want. Any 3. Yeah.
And this year, at this Baltimore City school alone, they're handing out free books for 260 pre-K to 2nd graders.
Good job.
Just like Swan.
From my perspective, what we just saw was that first spark in the kids to think and explore and dream.
A spark
Everything centers around literacy. You're blue?
that, just like this friendship,
There we go.
Canyon hopes
Is that okay?
only grows. I'm Shannon Lilly in Baltimore
Hey, come on, girl.
for Sinclair Cares.
And I'd like to give a warm welcome to Alicia Levy, the president and CEO of Reading is Fundamental. Alicia, I really appreciate you being here today to talk about this very critical issue. And really, Alicia, when I think about it, your mission is in your name.
Well, it absolutely is. Reading is fundamental. And thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for raising this critically important issue. Every child should be able to read.
And we're doing it really at a critical time for so many children.
Absolutely.
Who are maybe falling behind because of COVID, and they need that little bit extra push.
They really do. And I think that for Reading is Fundamental, we focus on joy. We focus on the joy of reading, the possibilities that reading provides for children. You're more likely to do something if you enjoy it. And so there's a crisis in this country. 25 million children in this country are not reading at a proficient level. And so we're focused on ensuring that every child can read.
And you know, you talk about 25 million children, but one book can make a big difference because so many kids, they don't even have one book in the house.
That's right. 61% of children living under the poverty line in this country do not have a book in their home. Can you imagine? No. The first thing I did when I had my children, I bought them a book. I have 17 nieces and nephews. The first thing I did when they were born, I bought them a book. And those books are things that create community in the home. Your child's first educator is a parent, right? Reading a story aloud is such an important part of getting a child prepared to go to school. And books are an important part of helping a child learn how to read.
You know, a lot of people can't fathom that number because they think, oh, there are schools, there are libraries, but a lot of people just don't have access to that reading material.
I think that's right, and I think we all saw it. All of us that had children through COVID, that experienced COVID, and we all experienced COVID, we saw the struggles that children had in learning remotely, and importantly, consuming the information that they needed to. If you cannot read, you cannot learn. And by the time you enter 4th grade, if you're not reading at a proficient level, you're gonna struggle. After 4th grade, you read to learn. Before 4th grade, you learn to read.
And also for the NAEP test as well.
Well, that's exactly right. NAEP, the nation's report card. Who hasn't held their breath when they're getting their report card at home, right? And NAEP measures reading proficiency for 4th and 8th graders. But COVID exacerbated those challenges, and we have to double down. This is a problem that we can solve. Every child can learn to read. There's no question about that. And what parent doesn't want their child to be able to read? So it's a problem we can solve, and I am so grateful that we're talking about it.
And you were part of that solution.
Well, Reading is Fundamental for over 55 years has absolutely been part of the solution. We are dedicated to ensuring that every child in America has the opportunity to read, that lives in a community that makes reading a priority. Creating a culture of literacy in communities and homes across the country is central to our mission.
Now, your mission, of course, you provide books for
We
children.
do. We provide books and literacy resources, tips for parents, resources for educators. Our goal is to ensure that children see possibilities in reading. We want them to want to pick up a book. We want them to see themselves and their experiences in books that they might select. We also want them to experience what others experience in books.
And that seems to be the big question, at least for a lot of folks, is how to get kids interested, how to make reading fun. Any tips here?
Well, for sure. lots of ideas on how to make reading fun. And I believe that if you're interested in something, you're more likely to continue to do it. So what do? You make sure that children see an opportunity to read everywhere. Again, it doesn't have to be a hardcover book. We live in a digital society. I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and they said, this is Gen AI. This generation of learners are going to use technology to enable learning in ways we can't even imagine. And I think that that's true. So reading has to be available to a child in any format, in any setting, in any way. And how do you engage that child? You make sure it's something they can relate to.
You know, a lot of people think you have to do a lot to help. But you can do something simple, just a few dollars could help one child even more.
Well, absolutely. We're a nonprofit. Reading is Fundamental is a nonprofit, and we operate on engaging people in our cause. And every dollar is a dollar toward the solution. Every dollar you donate to RIF helps us ensure that we have a nation of lifelong readers, and we're creating joy for children in communities nationwide. So your dollar goes a long way.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for joining us and the work your organization does.
Thank you.
61% of U.S. children living at or below the poverty line do not have any books at home. And a recent study found that 1 in 3 children entering kindergarten lack the basic skills they need to learn to read. But you can help right now. A $4 donation will provide 1 new book to a child. A $20 donation will provide 5 books. Every dollar will make a difference, so please go to sinclaircares.com or scan the QR code on your screen to make a donation so that more children can experience a love of reading.
The fun thing about it is that sometimes in reading, like when you're reading a chapter book, you can manage to put like mental pictures in your head about what's going on, and also like you can picture it in your head.
Welcome back to our Sinclair Cares Supporting Children's Literacy Special. Our partners at Reading is Fundamental are working to change the trajectory of the alarming U.S. literacy crisis, which creates barriers between our nation's children and their opportunities. Since 1966, Reading is Fundamental has provided nearly 430 million books and reading resources to more than 160 million children. Now we continue from San Antonio, where David Chancellor reports from Joseph Hopkins Elementary School.
Reading is... For decades, that phrase ended with the word fundamental. But to students at Hopkins Elementary in San Antonio, reading is so much more. When you're at home, when do you read?
Mostly when I'm stressed out.
Oh, okay. I like that. Why?
It just calms me down because then I get to read interesting things and stuff like that.
Part comfort, part happiness. Reading is all that, with hope sprinkled in. It's why every spring, the library at Hopkins gives out 3 new books to each student from each grade.
I like to do big events where the kids get to come and choose their books all together as a class. It builds that reading community and that joy of, this is exciting, this is fun.
You're going to get 3 free books today.
Yes.
Are you excited? The want and the need are both there.
There aren't a lot of bookstores anywhere close to our school. So we have kids whose parents don't have a car. They don't leave the community. They don't leave the area. There's no place to go to get something to read. These books are for you.
What kind of books do you like to read?
Mythology.
Oh, you're into mythology. So mythology books. Anything else that we're looking for today?
Murder mystery.
What? How old are you? Would you rather watch TV or read books? Oh, the right answer is read books.
That's gonna be a hard decision.
Touche, but an open book can spark something that not even TV can fully reach in a child, their imagination.
Reading opens up a new world for the kids. It exposes them to new things. I have kids in my class who want to be scuba divers and who want to work in the Eiffel Tower when they grow up, just because we've learned about it, we've read about it. I just love encouraging the joy of reading because I want our kids to see how big the world can be. So when you read books for pleasure, books for fun, and informational books too, you can just kind of see so much more of the world.
In San Antonio, David Chancellor, Sinclair Cares.
Now let's turn to a longtime educator. Nakia Jarrett has taught first grade since 2001 and is a school library media specialist in DC Public Schools. Welcome, Nakia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, how are you today?
Good. Now, you obviously have a wealth of knowledge here, but when we look at what's happening in our schools across the country, and the numbers here just are so staggering, 25 million students not reading proficiently. What are you seeing? Because you teach kids from K through 5. Why is this happening?
Well, it's really important to start the reading at home. School is amazing, but if we start reading at home, especially from birth in the womb, then we'll realize and understand that even students 1, 2 years old, or children 1 to 2 years old, even if they're reading a book upside down, they're still reading. It's making sure that students have books and library and literacy resources in their hand.
You know, you talk about, you work with kids K through the 5th grade, right?
Yes.
And there's so many studies out that say that once you hit the 3rd grade, if you're not reading at level of proficiency, it increases the chances of dropping out of school,
Yes.
Maybe even going to jail. How do you relay that to your students, to their parents, in order to boost reading skills for these young people?
Well, especially in 3rd grade, I also explain to them that sometimes reading is not as fun as you want it to be, but you can gain knowledge that will help you. One of my biggest things is telling students, if you read that periodical, if you read that nonfiction information, you can teach your parents. They like to teach their parents, you know, they want to be the boss, right? But I think through reading, it allows you to educate others. And that's what is important for 3rd grade and up.
And you know what? That's very important to keep that reading going, and very important, the work you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us, Nakia.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. I'm joined now by Sue Brady, a reading specialist at Heritage Middle School in Lansing, Illinois, now in her 43rd year of teaching. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Angela. How are you?
Good. You know, we've had a really good conversation earlier just regarding your role in helping students, many students who are 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders who come to you and they're behind in reading. Mm-hmm. What is the impact of that? How do you catch them up, especially when you think of COVID and learning loss?
Sometimes it's very difficult to catch students up, especially at this age. But what I try to do is keep it fun, keep it motivating. And I found a really good way to do that is just get them excited about reading, try to find that one good book that is going to make them go, yes, this is the book I've been waiting for. But also to keep my lessons short, because as we discussed earlier, attention spans are short. due to social media, COVID, other things. And you've got to just keep the pace, keep it short, and have something ready to keep going. But one thing that I found really helps is using graphic novels. It really helps to get their interest because graphic novels, to them, it's almost like a comic book. But there are so many wonderful, well written graphic novels out there. And once you can catch their interest with that, you can get them to go into a chapter book or something else.
Now, one thing obviously reading is fundamental is crucial for a lot of these. Yeah, I see you shaking your head. How has it made a difference for you? How do you use it in the classroom?
We are using it as book giveaways. Reading is fundamental is just awesome. It's one of the best things that I ever ran across, and luckily I was able to hook up with them. This is my second year with them. I have one more year to go, and they send me books, boxes and boxes and boxes of books, and we give those away to the children for free. There's absolutely no charge for these books. They come into my room and they just get to look at all the wonderful books and pick. And a lot of the kids say to me, "Can't I get more than one?" And unfortunately, I have to say, "No, sweetheart, you can't. You can only get one book." But there is one little girl that when she came and chose her book this year, she goes, "Oh, Mrs. Brady, it's like Christmas for me to get my own book." Because a lot of the kids don't have books at home. So that really melted my heart.
Well, thank you so much for the job you're doing, Sue, and thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Did you know 1 in 3 children entering kindergarten lack the basic skills they need to learn how to read? And 67% of fourth graders read below grade level, setting them up for difficulty in school and beyond. If you donate just $4, a child will receive a new book, and $20 donation will provide 5 books, all to help a child enjoy the gift of reading. Please go to sinclaircares.com or scan the QR code on your screen to make a donation. Every dollar counts. Please help if you can.
There's a lot of books that can be relatable to their problems in real life, and not even just problems, but like things that they feel like they like or can relate to.
Like when I was younger, I used to get bullied a lot about like physical features. And when I got home, I used to cry and stuff. And then my mom was like, "It's okay." And then she was like, "Okay, you can have a few minutes for yourself." So I just picked up a book and I was able to escape from reality.
And I'm joined now by Jack Raimondi, the chairman of the board for Reading is Fundamental. Welcome, Jack. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
We're glad you're here. You know, I was doing a little bit of research on you, and 2 years ago, you posted something on LinkedIn that was quite inspiring. You said, "I'm proud to share that Reading is Fundamental has helped 100 million children get access to books and literacy education over 56 years." That is so many children you've helped. And that was 2 years ago, and you helped even more. Why the focus on literacy? Why is that so important?
Well, I think it's in our name, right? Reading is fundamental. And for children to succeed in today's world, particularly in an increasingly digital world, being able to read and read to not just read for fun, but read to learn is critically important.
Now, how do you offer that support when it comes to a child's reading journey?
So one of the most startling data points is how many children don't have books of their own in their homes. And that is something that RIF is very much focused on. It's being able to give books to children that they can keep as their own. And when you go to like a reading a Reading is Fundamental book distribution event, and you see the eyes light up and sparkle when the kids learn that they are able to keep these books and bring them home and call them their own, it's so important. Now at RIF, we don't teach children how to read, but we do try to install a joy of reading, by giving them books and helping them understand or experience, I guess is the better word, experience what they can learn through books. They can be someplace else. They can learn about a different culture. They can learn about different animals. They can learn about STEM related activities. All of this is made possible by the fact that we are distributing books for free to children who really don't have access to books in their own home today. But I think the most important thing that we do is that, reading skills and teaching of reading, the methodologies change each and every time. Just think about the return to phonics that seems to be happening in the marketplace today. One of the things that is universal and makes RIF so its model so stable and so much needed through all types of environments is that we are providing books for free, books that the children get to choose. We don't choose the books for them. They get to choose the books that are most interesting to them. We think that leads to an increase in participation in reading, and that is something that is universal, whether it's 30 years ago or today or 30 years into the future.
You talk about the impact. I'm sure you've seen personally the impact at some of these book events, the expression on the kids' faces, heard stories of improvement. Could you share some of that with us?
Yes. So as part of my involvement with RIF, I regularly attend book distribution events. Sometimes I get to actually read aloud to children, which is super exciting. You see their participation, the smiles on their faces, and then afterwards you can roam around with the children and help them find the book that speaks to them. That's super powerful, and what a strong motivational, satisfying event to witness each time.
Well, thank you so much for all you do, and thank you so much for joining us today, Jack.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sinclair Cares is celebrating National Reading Month by supporting Reading is Fundamental and providing books to children and communities like ours. Donate to our virtual book drive. Just a $4 gift can ensure a new book finds its way into a child's hands. Please go to sinclaircares.com or scan the QR code on your screen to make a donation. You can make that donation and change the life of a child. RIF studies have shown giving children choice and access to their own new age-appropriate books is positively tied to improved reading behaviors, writing performance, language development, and academic performance in other subjects. Reading is Fundamental has the proven programs and resources to tackle the literacy crisis, but we cannot do it without you. Please help us provide more children with the joy of reading to build a foundation for a lifetime of opportunity. I'm Angela Brown with the National Desk. Thank you so much for joining us.